False assumptions about Muslim women. Hello everyone. Welcome to Signpost for Living with Dr. Kirsten Hunter, and we are here with gorgeous Ellisa Parker. Hello.
Assalamu alaikum. Hello.
Hello.
Peace be with you.
So we have Ellisa here. Now I've been busting to get you along from many conversations we've had, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, we need to kind of get this on air. This is just so interesting because you're an Australian Muslim woman.
Correct.
Yes. Now we've got a few interesting questions already in that, Australian Muslim, and I love our title, False Assumptions About Muslim Women. And why I wanted to get you in is because I think there are so many false assumptions. You agree?
I absolutely agree. We should never underestimate our Muslim women. They're amazing.
There you go.
Yep.
So we did a little brainstorm of topics to jump into, and they blew my mind, and you kept starting to speak. I'm like, stop. This is too good. Let's get this on tape. It's just so interesting. So first of all, can you give us a bit of your background? When did you come to yourself becoming a Muslim woman?
Well, as a child, we did scripture at school, so we'll go back that far. So I sort of always had a connection with God, but not really. It wasn't until I had my children that I really started getting spiritual and how do I want to raise them and what values do I want to deliver. And so I've been working, like the children have gone through Catholicism, they're baptised and all those things. But I actually was going to a church which was an AOG church, which was fantastic.
What church?
Assembly of God church.
Right.
And I started listening to an American pastor called Shane Willard, and he reads the Bible from the Hebraic perspective. And I found that fascinating to go right back and learn the scriptures, how they were originally told. Mm-hmm. And then we had the event of the mosque burning down in our town, in the city. And so
this is Southeast Queensland, Australia, yep.
And so I started hearing the rhetoric about Islam, and I thought, I don't know, I want to have a look into it. So I started reading, and because I'd done that, like, understanding of the Bible from the Hebraic perspective, a lot of the Quran actually started, I could see the similarities. And what drew me to Islam was the environmental aspect of it. So very much they're very strong in protecting the earth.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
wow.
And because I've got that background of conservation land management, that really drew me in.
On that point, you're actually a Greens parliamentary, help me, quick, give me a quick.
I've been a candidate for the federal election.
Of course
a
you
Greens
have.
candidate.
Of course you have, right.
And I help run the local branch, and they're just an amazing group of people.
So when we talk about you having a leaning toward conservation, big time. Big time. Okay, yep.
One of those crazy greenies.
Awesome. Love it.
So, and then I just started reading, and I thought, you know what, I really like this Abrahamic faith, and then I took the plunge, said my Shahada, which is Iyala illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, and that's basically saying I believe there is no God but God. I believe that there is that Muhammad is a messenger of God, and I've forgotten the last little section. Sorry, but that's it in a nutshell. And then I've just continued to keep learning since then.
And so you were talking about the Bible through Hebrew, which is historically kind of the time frame when it was written. Is that correct?
Jesus was a Hebrew.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's understanding the language they used and the metaphors and things like that.
So the Quran is kind of the Muslim equivalent of the scripture book?
Yes. So the Quran is a combination of the Old Testament, the New Testament, and then the Quran, so the message that Muhammad brought to the world.
So the Quran includes the New and the Old Testament?
Aspects of it, yes.
Did not know that.
They have Jonah and the whale.
Yeah.
They have Moses, which is Musa. they have all those Bible stories that we grew up with. They just obviously got the Arabic names.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now, you're a bit of an overachiever, and you are currently studying.
Yes.
What are you studying?
I'm studying a Bachelor of Islamic Studies and Civilization through Charles Sturt University, and it's challenging yet rewarding. Yeah.
I didn't know that existed.
Yeah. It was the first one to be developed in Australia, this particular course, and now there's one at Griffith Uni as well. But it's a very good foundation. We actually have a lot of federal police and things like that doing the course as well, because it's very good for a lot of different areas to work in. Yeah.
So, cultural awareness?
Yeah, cultural awareness.
I was about to ask you what your objective is with studying that, apart from your insatiable curiosity, which is enough, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm leaning towards now, hopefully like a sort of chaplaincy role, but with the women's services. I don't know if my health would allow me to do federal police or defence, but that option is there, because I've found out they are looking for female Islamic chaplains in the Defence Force at the moment. Yeah, so we'll see.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, you have a leaning towards women.
Yes.
Why?
Personal experience, and I see the challenges that we face, and I'd really like to help let women have a bit more of a fair go.
Are we talking women generally, or particularly Muslim women?
I do a lot of work across all the spectrums, but yeah, particularly because of my faith, I do have a passion to help Islamic women when they need it.
Okay, now I'm going to go back to a question I asked you earlier, and then I had to say, wait. Now, you've just said Islamic women, and we're saying Muslim women. What is the difference between Islam and Muslim?
Well, Islam is faith.
Yes.
Muslim is the person.
Okay. I'm with you, of course. So Islam is the faith, yep, and Muslim is the person who follows the Islam faith.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. I've always wanted to know that. Clarity. Love it.
Yep.
Okay, so what would you say are some of the false assumptions about Muslim women?
Well, that we're subservient, that we're all locked away, that's probably the main frustration.
That there's a really passive kind of role being played.
Yeah.
Firstly, why do you think people have that assumption, and also why is that not true?
Unfortunately, that's what we're told in the media, and that's what we see, unfortunately, in some nations in the media, that women are losing their rights, and that's very unfortunate. And there's a lot of us who are fighting and trying to help them gain those rights back.
So there are some sectors of the world where there is a lot of oppression of women under that explanation.
Yeah, and a lot of the time, I'm thinking of a particular country which I won't name. I think it's the story and the narrative they like to go to, because in that particular country, the poverty is so bad, the drug addiction is so bad, but I think it's the women losing their rights that gets the screen time.
Which is a valid issue.
Of course, but there's more. There's more to it than just women losing their rights. But yeah, I do like
general
focusing.
oppression. Yeah. Okay. So, what restrictions are on Muslim women? Because we were talking earlier, and you were saying that a lot of it's to do with society. Can you tell me what your thoughts are?
One thing that really is challenging me at the moment to try and educate people is just assuming, they won't be able to do it. They can't do it. Say it's a school camp or something.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Instead of asking and just having that conversation. Are you available? Can they come and do this? What parameters do we need to put in place to make this happen for them?
How do we cater to your needs?
Yeah. Instead of just saying, no, they won't be able to do it, that's it. Yeah. Yeah.
And that might be down to conservative requirements for privacy or dressing or food, or why would there be restrictions for someone to go to a camp?
Yeah, sometimes there's food. Swimming can be an issue. Co-educational can be an issue sometimes. Whereas, you know, some things that we've tried to do for the Muslim girls and women in our space is take them to a private pool and let them swim for the afternoon, because obviously they can't see males and they don't want males to see them in their swimsuits. So we create the opportunity for them to go and have those experiences.
Can you explain why there is such a focus on this privacy issue within that Islamic framework? And can we also jump into the covering, being covered, if you do, if you don't? Yep. Can we go into that whole area? Because I think there's so much lack of understanding.
We can try. It's a big issue.
Let's dive in the dark.
Let's have a go.
Yep.
So it's all to do with modesty,
mm-hmm.
And having a minimal standard of clothing, of behaviour, of who can see you, and of course who you can see. I guess when we talk about hijab, people only think about women, but hijab actually applies to both men and women. There is a minimum dress code that we should try to adhere to, and there's also a very important hadith where we should always lower our gaze. So if we do happen to see something that is inappropriate, it is our responsibility on ourselves to lower our gaze and say, okay, well, that's over there, but I'm going to walk this line and adhere myself to my values. Yeah.
And so it's about not lusting?
Yeah, lust and things like that. So purity obviously is very important. So yeah, that's definitely one aspect.
And so there's a hijab for men.
Yeah, so the hijab for men is, I guess, whatever would be covered in a T-shirt and down to the knee. So that's the minimum dress code for men. And women, it's to the ankle, to the hands and to the face. That's the general moderate view. But then it gets a lot deeper on who you're with, if they're family, if they're not family, if you're just with females, or if, you know, there's a lot of different levels to what hijab is.
So if there was a Muslim man playing AFL, he would need to wear sort of like leggings to his knees?
Yeah, that would be advised, yeah.
Interesting. I did not know that there was an expectation for men, because you don't hear that.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. We must share the news.
There you go. That's really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier that there's pressure. There's different types of pressure. There's pressure if you don't cover up enough, but there's pressure if you do cover up. Can you tell me about both sides?
Yeah, so if we don't cover up, it's really interesting, especially now I'm studying at university, because there's 4 different schools of thought in Islam, and each of them have their own interpretation of what it says in the Quran about covering up. So
is it on a spectrum from less to more conservative?
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Okay. So you can see that obviously the most conservative would be women wearing burqas all the time.
So a burqa is when only the eyes can be seen?
No, a burqa is just lace. They have lace in front of the eyes, so it's completely covered. Okay. Niqab, you can see their eyes.
Okay.
And the word hijab that we refer to for the scarf can be various different forms of tying it, but generally we just call it hijab.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got very different ends of the spectrum, but I know amazing Muslim women who just choose not to wear hijab.
Mm-hmm. So they choose not to cover up.
They choose not. They will still be covered, as in they won't be exposed.
Dressed modestly.
Modestly, yeah. But they just choose not to wear a scarf.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And even at times, like you've seen me, some days I wear scarf, some day I wear a beanie. In winter, I just choose a beanie. And that's where I've sort of had to have that, oh, okay, you don't understand, because people will make comments like, oh, where's your scarf? Like,
really?
yeah.
Why do they think they have any vote?
I don't know.
Really?
Yeah. And that's challenging for me. Or I've got some sort of, rib comments of, oh, I didn't recognise you without your scarf. Okay. Yeah, so there are hadiths, which is like the messages of the Prophet when he had guided the people on the way to live, where he said that there is no compulsion in religion. And he also said that if it causes you harm, I don't know the exact wording of the hadith, but there's no compulsion in religion, but also if it causes you harm, you should not be forced upon you. So obviously we love seeing young Muslim girls wearing hijab, but it's something, it should be on to them.
It's a personal choice.
It's a personal choice, definitely.
So the Supremist group haven't read this, have they? Sorry. Don't go there.
So we what we want to achieve with our girls is that they have confidence in themselves, in their faith, and they think, yeah, this is me and I'm comfortable in wearing hijab and this being our identity, instead of it being forced upon them and potentially could be ostracised or suffer bullying or things like that. We really want it to be a personal positive personal experience.
It's a very different thing if you are behind your own personal expression and your sense of identity and you're owning it and you're carrying it with confidence versus if you're feeling like it's imposed on you.
Yeah. Because then it's not your faith. It's just something you do. And that's where I have a real separation of what is your faith and your spirituality to what is organised religion and the things that are imposed from that. Yeah, they're two very different roads to walk down.
So what if a man and woman come together and they're married and the man's concept of what a woman ought to do is different to what the woman says is her personal journey?
This is where we're at.
Are we cracking eggs on this topic?
Yeah, this is where we're really at in the Muslim community, and it's we have some amazing academics in this area who are studying it through theology and things like that, and it's still filtering down. So it is a very challenging thing to deal with, and we don't have an abundance of Islamic marriage counsellors.
Right.
And so that's what we're working on now in the community. Well, in the Australian Muslim community, is we've got chaplaincy courses developing, marriage counselling courses developing that are halal marriage courses. Yeah, because obviously the faith is very important and they need to work through that, especially if we've got two different cultures or two different theological understandings. Obviously we want happy, harmonious marriages. So yeah, that's still the road that we're learning to walk down.
You'd think you'd talk about that beforehand, hey?
Well, we should.
But then again, people can change.
Correct.
With their personal experience.
Yeah.
Now, you said something earlier that I've never heard of before. You said Islamophobia.
Yes.
There's a strong word. Phobia of people who are Islam?
Yeah, phobia of Muslims. And a phobia is a irrational fear.
Yes.
You know that because you're a smart woman.
Hope so. But tell me what's your introduction to this concept and what's your involvement? Islamophobia.
Yeah.
You could have called the podcast that.
No, we've already done that with ABC.
Okay.
So
everyone, you can grab Ellisa on ABC. What did you appear on?
I spoke about the Islamophobia Register
Right.
on ABC, I think twice in the last couple of years.
ABC what?
ABC Nationwide, I think it was.
Okay.
Just talking about what I've experienced, and then what we can do if you're a bystander or a parent of somebody who's suffered Islamophobia, or if you've encountered Islamophobia, and how you can report that through the register and also through to QPS, Queensland Police.
What does it look like?
Old school bullying.
Really?
Yeah.
You're different.
Yeah, you're different. One thing that really ticks me off is just really horrible comments like, oh, you must hate our government because you're Muslim. You must hate our Defence Force because you're Muslim. Just really ignorant comments.
And not creative at all.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, not creative.
No, but really bizarre.
Yeah. And it's you know, and you're just going about your day and then someone will come and say something.
Really?
Yeah, I've walked down the main street and had a young fellow screaming out Allah Akbar behind me because he thought that was a fun thing to do.
What is that?
Oh, that means God is great. He didn't pronounce it correctly.
Okay.
And he just, because that's what you see in the Hollywood movies, and he just thought it would have been a funny thing to do. But for me, it's like I'm just going about my shopping, and then there's this person walking behind me screaming this out. Like, why, buddy? Yeah.
It's a reflection on them, not you.
I have to remind myself of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
what about you know, going for employment and people making assumptions, or, you know, excluding you from, you know, if, I don't know, going for a table at a restaurant. I've no idea.
Yeah, well, that's one thing that comes under the anti-discrimination code is obviously you can't deny someone a position because of their religion, sexual orientation or ethnic background. And so that's also something that can be reported to the Islamophobic register.
So there is an Islamophobic register.
Yes. You type that into Google and it will send you to this register that's been developed by an amazing young Muslim lady named Sarah, I believe. And she's come up with this amazing survey, and it gets all the data together of what's happened, where has it happened, who did it happen to, who was the perpetrator, and then all that data then gets presented to the police service and the Human Rights Commission and things like that, so then their understanding of where we're at as a society.
So that's an educational framework. Mm. But also, if you were to experience any form of abuse, call the police, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. And is there an assumption, is there confidence in the police? Bad question.
I think it depends where you are. I think they're still learning. They're doing well. They've got community liaison officers now that are Islamic specific. So they're progressing. So I can't fault them on that. But there is still a lot of work to be done. Yeah.
Okay. Now, here's another topic. Some women are religiously manipulated, the dark underbelly. Mm. So that's a whole world that I don't know about. Mm-hmm. So can you help me understand what the dark underbelly is? Yeah,
so from what we are witnessing, there's two different types of women that are being manipulated through their faith, and that's new Muslims who are reverts, so they're someone who's taken on the faith, or women who have come over on a partner visa.
Okay.
So low English, don't know anyone, very isolated.
Vulnerable.
Very vulnerable. Both are very vulnerable.
Okay.
And so the Bengal Foundation in Brisbane is amazing, does a lot of work in this area because, there are some aspects of the community who don't believe women are on a level stance with men, even though it says in the Quran we are.
Does it say that in the Quran?
There are aspects in the Quran that, like, women are your helpers and things like that. Yeah, it doesn't tell us to be subservient and things. We really do have a true place in society. Yeah.
Sure.
So what were we question again?
We're talking about the religious manipulation, the dark underbelly, and you're saying there are two subgroups. And there's the Australians, the reverts, and And then we've got those who have come on partner visa, and they're vulnerable because they might not have the language and that vulnerability. Yeah, so is it about not understanding what their rights are as women within the Islam religion?
Yeah. I'll say yes, and then I'll elaborate on the fact that the ones that have come here on the partner visa, they can be very much threatened with, if you don't do what I say, you're going back home.
Okay, that's huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very vulnerable.
Very vulnerable. Whereas, say, a revert could be told, if you don't do this, you're breaking the covenant with Allah, and you will have to answer for this on the day of judgment.
Because they're new to the religion.
Because they're new to the religion. They don't know any better.
Wow, okay.
And I've witnessed women being told, you can't read anything about Islam unless I've read it first and approve it.
That's just mortifying.
Yeah, so that's where we come into that freedom of religion in healthy relationships. You know, that just breaches all those things. So
free and equal access to be able to learn what the religion is about. Yeah, it's really interesting. I didn't know that existed.
It's the real unfortunate side of something that could be really beautiful.
And with all things that are good, we screw them up, don't we?
Unfortunately. Humans.
They're annoying. Okay, on the topic, I don't mean to be anti here, but we're just kind of talking about problem areas, aren't we?
Just let's fix the world.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, now dowry, I have a problem with that word, dowry abuse.
Yeah, dowry or maher, it's also called. So this is when it comes to a marriage, Islamic marriage, and there are various covenants or things that must be adhered to for this marriage to be valid. And the dowry is a gift from the husband to the wife. And it should be one of the things that is spoken openly about at the marriage ceremony. It must be agreed to, and generally it's written down.
Okay, so why does it go that way? Who gets what?
The male gives it to the female.
Gives it to the female.
Yeah, as a demonstration of his ability to be able to be a husband, and as a form of commitment.
So if all of their assets become shared, no, they don't.
No.
Shaking her head.
In Islam, there is a specific clause from the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, where women are entitled to keep their pre-marriage property or belongings as their own, even if they get married, and even if they happen to divorce, those items or things are still solely theirs.
Including the dowry.
Correct.
So that's brilliant.
In theory.
No. Like they come together and the woman keeps her assets to the left and then as a couple they move forward, and that's kind of an assurance, isn't it? If something happens to the man.
Yes, it's
or
the
marriage.
insurance policy, yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, but the challenge we have is it's being abused.
How?
Some women never see the dowry. Some women are...
So it's promised but not given.
Yeah. Some women are conned into handing over their dowry because times are tough and things like that. And that's obviously, yes, as a couple, these are things that we should negotiate in a healthy relationship on how we contribute, but it can be very manipulative and women can end up with absolutely nothing and then the husband is gone. So, the insurance policy that the Prophet put in place for women, unfortunately, isn't being upheld.
And what's been done about this?
Not enough.
Didn't you say there was an organisation?
Well, the Bengal Foundation
right.
Is amazing and helps a lot of women through the family courts. But the challenge we have is we're dealing with Sharia law and Australian marriage law, so family court.
So Muslim and Australian.
Yeah. And we haven't quite caught up with each other.
Right.
So this is where we've had a lot of studies done. We've had a lot of recommendations made, but we still haven't made it all happen.
Is that because this is not a legal law in Australia, at least? So it's very hard to pin the person down.
Well, that even opens up another can of worms. So I've heard of women who have found it, even if they've only had an Islamic marriage and have been in atrocious situations, who have said, I need a divorce, I have to get separated from this individual. The angst that they go through the Sharia court is horrible. So the stress on a woman, even if they haven't gone through Australian marriage law, is quite challenging.
Because it's not...
It's a man's world.
Okay, there you go. So it's not really... there isn't really that framework for, would you say, divorce within the Muslim law?
Yeah, there is a framework, but it's not being applied as many women believe it should be.
Right.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a bit of a struggle.
Yeah.
Sigh. Wow, that's a whole area. And so can people get married with the Muslim law and not the Australian law?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
is it a marriage if it's not? I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, well, you can. You won't have the... Well, you could... There are aspects that could help, that it could fall under what Australian family law calls de facto relationships.
Sure. But not marriage registrar.
Yeah, but you're not... Yeah, you're just a de facto...
Which legally after 3 years of marriage, relationship, you're the same anyway
Mm.
in Australian law. Very, very interesting. Okay, now I want to wrap up with a really beautiful question.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
We have a magic wand. Yes. What would you like? What is your golden ideal?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a realist, but what do we want? What's the goal? What's the big picture? What's the outcome that we're ultimately working for in all of our small, gradual, working away, efforts for Muslim women?
For Muslim women, let them achieve what they aspire to achieve, because I guarantee you that they have the best hearts and they will always want it to be halal or whatever. So if they want to go out there and be a doctor or anything, just give them the opportunity.
How can you speak about a group of women and assume that they're all just these beautiful group?
Oh, they are.
Okay.
They are. Oh, look, we all have our faults.
Yeah.
We're all human. But it breaks my heart when I see, especially girls that have finished high school and want to study.
Yeah.
And they're just unfortunately held back.
Because
and so we need to talk with their father or their parents and say, look, just give them a go. They could help you in the family store if they go and get a Bachelor of Business. It'll help your family business. So, yeah. But also, as well, if you've got a young Muslim girl who wants to work in City Beach, please let her. Please give her the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So basically, don't restrict.
Don't restrict them.
And just let people go and find their path and don't make any assumptions, and ask questions.
Yeah.
And learn rather than presume.
Yes.
I think when people see difference, they can respond with fear and therefore prejudice. And it's just ignorance, right? It drives me nuts. So, yeah. And I think it's also so wonderful to talk with you and hear about your passion and your love for your religion, And there's plenty of people that don't have any religion and they haven't tapped into that. So I think it's so profoundly ignorant, again, to have any kind of negative assumption about somebody when they're maybe pursuing something you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My lecturer said something beautiful in the lecture last week. He said, we're all students of each other. We've all got something to learn from each other. So
Well, that's a very
that's
good
a great
note
way to live.
Thank you for giving us that beautiful note to end on. What was it? We're all students of each other.
Yeah, we've all got something to learn from each other.
I'm going to cheers to that. Well, thank you, Ellisa, for coming in. I really appreciate it. And we'll keep talking as we always do. So everyone, if you want to jump online and grab me, the website is kirstenhunterauthor.com, Facebook and Instagram, Kirsten Hunter Author, and Twitter, Kirsten Hunter AU. Ellisa, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Love your brain, love your heart.
Oh,
See ya.
see ya.